He always plays that song. You know, you have to be very humble to have the opportunity to introduce a great ball club like this '84 team. Fortunately, I have grandchildren that keep me very humble. My grandson Nick, when he was in kindergarten, the teacher asked everybody to write down their favorite sport, and Nick wrote down baseball. Keeps you humble. She said, Nick, why did you write down baseball? So I wrote down baseball because my father's a great baseball player, teach me to be a great baseball player. She said, I thought you might write down basketball. And he said, oh no, I don't know anybody that knows anything about basketball. True story. She says, well, you know, some people think your grandfather knows something about basketball. He said, oh no, I go to all his games and he never gets in. So it keeps you humble. And I am humbled to have the opportunity to introduce this great '84 basketball team. A lot of special teams through the years, but boy, they were one of the genuines. They were just incredible in each and every way. You know, I go back and I was asked Walt Cobb to make sure I had the right year. I said, when did Duke Rockne start to build the great Notre Dame football programs? They were the #1 greatest college football programs in the country back in the late 20s. And I know somebody came up to Coach Duke Rockne after he'd won a national championship, and they said, what kind of team did you have? And he said, I really don't know, but if you'll check with me in 20, 25 years, I'll let you know how we turned out when I see how these kids did. And here we are, quite a few years past '84, and I want to tell you how these kids did. They were phenomenal. Phenomenal when they were here at DeMatha. They were champions in every single respect. They finished 29-2. They played 3 teams that year that were ranked #1 at the time they played and beat all 3 of them. Gave 2 of them the only loss they had all year long. Broke Dunbar High School of Baltimore's 59-game winning streak. Beat Modern Day, who was ranked #1 in the nation at the time, over at Tacoma Academy. It was probably as tough a schedule as the DeMatha team has ever played. They just kept on winning and winning and winning and doing a great job. They also, besides winning all of those ball games, they won their 22nd conference title for DeMatha. They won the city championship. They won the Alhambra title up in Cumberland, Maryland. In our final game, we beat Cathedral from Canada. And it was the first time I've ever seen a headline before or after in the history of high school basketball which said, DeMatha wins North America Championship. We were not only the #1 ranked team in America, United States of America, but the #1 ranked team in Canada. What an incredible group of guys. And they worked hard. They were special. Believe me, they were champions on court, and they've been champions in the game of life. Every one of these young men that you're going to meet today all did a fantastic job here at DeMatha, went on to college, and every one of them graduated from college. And furthermore, every one of them today are doing extremely well, continuing to be champions in the game of life. It's now my privilege to introduce them. First, I want to introduce Rich Harrington. Rich, come forward. Rich is what I call one of my assistant athletic directors. He got everything done. He made all the little things happen. And every time I think I'd go to Rich, I'd say, we need to do this. He'd say, Coach, we've already done that. And how rare are people like that. It's not surprising today that he is a chief financial officer, a CPA, and one of my favorite guys, and one of the guys I like to really point out to. So Rich, thank you for the phenomenal job you did for us here at DeMatha. Next, Mike Watkins. Mike was not only another one of my assistant athletic directors, as I called, but he also is a fantastic football player here, as well as being an important member of our basketball team. And like he and Rich, I think they really ran the show. I just kind of went along for the ride because, again, it was the same old story. Mike, we got to get this done, we got to do this, or a problem would pop up, and bang, he did it. And he's one of those rare two-sport stars here at DeMatha High School. Next, Mike Anderson. Mike. Mike is one of those rare two-sport stars at DeMatha High School, a great football player over on the University of Maryland, where he's a great star there, but an incredible basketball player here at DeMatha High School. He did it all, defensively, offensively, you name it. He made everybody better. He was one of those real special players. And one thing about this team, it was blessed with a couple of great point guards. You don't have a good basketball team unless you get guys that can really run the show. And the first one was Mike Gielan. Mike? Mike was really special. He made everybody a better player. He always got the ball to the open guy. He always let the play make itself. He made everybody around him a better player. And if you don't think he did pretty well in life, not only did he go on to play at Harvard, but only one guy in the history of Harvard has been the captain of the basketball team twice, and that was Mike Gielan. Another one of the special players on this team, Mike Grimes. All these guys are coming from the back. They want to prove that they're still in shape after running all those double suicides. But Mike was really special. Great rebounder, great inside force, great shot blocker. Went on to Mount St. Mary's, had an incredible career there, and even got into coaching, which I was delighted to hear. And Mike was just one of those special guys that made us a special team. Next, Pat Moylan. Pat was one of the juniors on that team, and boy was he special. A guard that played great defense, played both ends of the floor, great shooter, great offensive scorer on the offensive end. In fact, maybe one of his greatest games was the city title game when he was a senior. One of the most interesting things about Pat, we think of all these great players that have played at DeMatha, Pat Moylan has won more varsity letters than any athlete in the history of DeMatha High School. How about that? I said we had two great point guards. The second one, after Mike Gielan, was Quentin Jackson. Quentin, like a lot of the DeMatha players of that era, went on to NC State. We had an incredible career, led NC State to the championship of the ACC. He was a winner in everything that he ever did. Made every player around him a better player. And if you don't think he really had his game together, he even played with the Harlem Globetrotters. The only guy to ever do that. And just a real special guy. Came all the way from the Eastern Shore, stayed with steep tracks during the week, but he wanted to be a DeMatha player, and by gosh, we were lucky that he was. Quentin Jackson, one of the real special ones. Next young man is not with us today. He has passed on to meet his maker, Juan Neal, and I've asked his dad, Terry Neal, to be here today to stand up for him for Juan. Here comes Terry now. Terry. Let me say this, we wouldn't be the team that we were if we hadn't had Juan Neal. He was just so special. You talk about the complete player. Very quiet, never had much to say. He just beat you on defense, beat you on offense, beat you changing ends. Special player, team leader, special guy. And I am so delighted that Terry is here to represent Juan today, because Juan was just so very special. Another one of our great ones, Vic Roy. Vic was another one of those players who played both sports, an outstanding football player here at DeMatha. Went on to be a great college football player. Sometimes they lose the way and stop playing basketball and decide to go to another sport. But as a basketball player, he was the best. He stirred them up defensively. University, but great, one of our real special players, all-around player, offensive threat every time he touched the ball, great passer, hit the open man, tremendous defensively, and one of our real quiet team leaders. As I mentioned, had a great career at Colgate, now a very successful real estate man in New York City, but a champion here and a champion now, Greg Tenson. Next, Steve Trax. Steve was one of those guys that just had the knack. The bigger the game, the better he played. And his greatest game was the city title game in front of 12,500 when we were really hurting. And all of a sudden, he just started draining what would be three-point shots today. I don't think that shot was in today. But he started hitting every big bucket. And if I can think of one of the 2 or 3, 4 players down through the years in DeMatha history had a knack for hitting the big bucket, it was Steve Garrett. Because he played big, played smart, played with great heart, fantastic career here, great career at Old Dominion, and now an incredibly successful financial man. Steve, one of the special ones on that team, I'll tell you. Next, Carlton Valentine. Here was the team leader, really, of the '84 basketball team. What a player. The leading rebounder, and the leader in about everything he ever did. Leader defensive player, leading shot blocker, you name it. And he went on from here to a great career at Michigan State, where he started. And he went on to the coaching career. He has won the Michigan State title as a coach. His sons have gone on, who are now on the Michigan State roster. One of them is an assistant at Michigan State. Carlton, one of the great players in DeMatha history, Carlton Valentine. And finally, Danny Ferry. You know, what do you say about a player that was a starter for 4 years on a DeMatha varsity basketball team? That's pretty hard to do. And then he goes on and he is voted the #1 high school player in the United States of America when he was a senior here at DeMatha. Well, that wasn't enough, because when he went on to Duke, he was voted the #1 college player in the United States of America. 15 years in the NBA. Now, of course, the general manager of the Atlanta Hawks. But on and on, Danny was just special. Great rebounder, great shooter, great teammate, made everybody else better. Just one of those special guys that made us a very special team. As I look at this great team assembled here, and I hope I haven't missed anybody, I think I got everyone. I can't help but think that people will always go up to me and say, "Morgan, who was the best player you ever coached?" Well, I have to be very careful. I mean, I got Bob Whitmore sitting out there, and Joe Kennedy, and Mark Edwards, and Phil Watley. I'll stop the names down, so I have to be very careful. But if you ask me to find a player better than Danny Ferry, I'd have to hunt real hard. So I have to be very careful so they can't criticize me. And then if someone, and they all come to me and they say, "What was the best team you ever coached?" And we've had some great teams here. You know that, I know that. But I'll say this, I'd have to hunt very hard to find a team better than this '84 team. How about a great welcome for the champions of '84?